Hello and welcome to my channel. If this is your first time here, my name is Millie and today I'm going to be creating 4 looks and reviewing the 2 new eyeshadow palettes from Melt Cosmetics, and it is in collaboration with Beetlejuice. So this is what the palette looks like on the outside. I have already done a live stream where I did one look with each of the palettes, one on each eye, and I also did some swatch comparisons between these palettes and their other eyeshadow palettes, as well as some of these stacks that I have. And of course I also swatched each of the palettes on their own. So if you're interested in swatches, then check out that video. I will make sure to link it down below in the description box. So in this video I will be creating 2 more looks with the Waiting Room palette, as well as the Recently Deceased palette. So this is the Recently Deceased palette. It's got Beetlejuice stamped into the matte shades, which is super fun. And then this is the Waiting Room palette. So as you can see, while these are both the same sizes, the Waiting Room palette has 2 more shades than the Recently Deceased. And so this is the 2020 holiday collection from Melt Cosmetics, and they collaborated with Beetlejuice, which is such a cool idea. Of course, Melt Cosmetics knocked it right out of the park once again with creativity in the packaging and the designs, as well as just the attention to detail. So as usual, we're going to get into the 4 looks first, and then I'll give you my final thoughts on these palettes at the end of the video. So first, let's start out with 2 more looks with the Recently Deceased palette, and then we'll get into 2 more looks with the Waiting Room palette. Priming with the Beauty Bay Eye Primer in the shade Base 2. And this base is really tacky, so I like to kind of wait for it to set and then set it with like a translucent powder. I also don't have any foundation on yet because these are super powdery. The shimmers will get everywhere, so I don't want to risk completely ruining my foundation. So I'm just very lightly setting the crease area. For this look, I want to do kind of like an ombre look. I'm gonna go in with Beetlejuice in the crease. Really starting out slow. And then I'm gonna take Draw a Door and blend it into that above it. Next I'm taking the Beauty Bay base in shade 1, and I'm doing a full cut crease. Kind of like a wing on the outer corner here, and I'm not really too worried about it mixing with the yellow, and I'm gonna tap that out. So then I'm gonna take a small pencil brush and I'm gonna create a wing with the purple with Lost Souls, just kind of tapping it on and swiping it. Then into that I'm gonna blend Bio Exorcist and kind of blend it up a little bit. So as you can see, these are pretty similar once they're like kind of mixed in together. Do we need both of these in the palette? Probably not. So now that we have that shade, I'm going to go in with Draw a Door and blend that into the purple. I'm going to go back in with Lost Souls and just make sure I have that deeper purple in there. This purple is so pigmented, it's kind of amazing. And then back in with Bio Exorcist. Just making sure that is blended. So this kind of blended in together, so I think I'm going to do like a liner there. So I'm taking Limeade. I'm taking Limeade from Glisten Cosmetics. Finish off this look, I'm taking Lost Souls and connecting it with the wing underneath my lower lash line. Then I'm going to take Draw a Door and just blend that into that. So this is the first finished look. For the second look, I'm priming with the ABH primer. In this look, I think I want it to be predominantly a purple look and use some of the shimmers. So I'm gonna go in with Bio Exorcist in the crease. Whoa, pigmentation. And just blend it out. I didn't even have to dip back in, that was amazing. And then on the outer corner, I'm gonna tap on Lost Souls. A smaller blending brush and blend out the edge. I think this palette would have been even better if maybe one of the purple shimmers was like a super deep purple. That would have been so nice. So I'm just feathering that out. Next, I'm going to take Recently Deceased and I'm just going to use the brush I used for the outer corner. Just curious to see how this applies. It doesn't even really look that metallic. It's pretty much a satin. I'm actually going to put it in the outer edge here. Kind of use it as a deepening up shade. And then for the inner portion, I'll go in with Little Accident. That is very pretty, but I like a lot of shine from my shimmers personally. To finish off this look, I'm going in with Lost Souls, and I'm just going to connect it very little bit. I don't want it to go too far into my under eye area because I'm going to go in with Beetlejuice here. And I'm going to use Draw a Door as an inner corner highlight. Kind of sort of giving me some serious grungy vibes. This is the second finished look. I'm going to go in with Obituary in the crease. It's a super deep shade, but it's blending out really nicely. Bells Cosmetics always does reds really well. So just blend that out, and we're gonna do like a little bit of a smoky eye. Next, going in with Charman. And I'm tapping that at kind of an angle on the outer corner there. And then going to slowly blend that out. And I will go in with my Fairnay Pixie Epoxy, just because these shimmer shades are more satiny. I want to get the most kind of shine out of them. And I'm putting Lydia in the center of my lid. Such a stunning shade. It's got a little bit of a sheen. It's definitely not like really shiny. And then I'm going in with Juno on the inner portion here. This shade is a little chunky. And I'm gonna go back in with Charman just to make sure this outer edge is nice and blended out. Charman underneath my lower lid. So this is the first look with the Waiting Room palette. For the second look, I already primed with the ABH primer, and I'm going in with Tombstone right in the crease. You can see it's very pigmented, deeper kind of shade. And I'm gonna just dip into Sandworm a little bit since it's already like gray, and just like layer it over. Just kind of lighten it up a little bit. Blend it out. Going in with Shrunken Head, really blowing it out. I'm gonna also go in with Tombstone on my outer corner, just so that there's shadow there, and I'm gonna blend it out. Never thought I would be this excited to put on a gray eyeshadow, to be honest. And I'm just gonna connect my lower lash line with Tombstone again. And again, priming my whole entire lid with the Pixie Epoxy from Fairnay. Tapping it out. And I'm gonna put Dante's Inferno all over the lid. I feel like this looks a little lighter than in the pan. Is that just me? Am I making that up? Super gorgeous. Again, not like really metallic, but definitely more metallic than some of these other shades. I'm also gonna take a little bit of Dante's Inferno and a blending brush and just blend it into the crease. I don't want any harsh edges there. Next, I'm gonna take a fluffier brush. And this is the second finished look with the Waiting Room palette. Really actually love this shade all over the lid. So first I'm going to talk about the Recently Deceased palette, and this color story definitely was much more fun for me. I personally like more colorful color stories, so this one has some nice purples as well as the lime green and the yellow. I would say that two of the shimmers, Recently Deceased and Little Accident, are definitely more like satins. They're not really super shiny, while Neurotic is definitely much more on the metallic side. And I did not use Paranormal, so I can't speak on that one, but I've used all the other mattes, and the mattes, I gotta say, are so pigmented, very pigmented, very powdery, so definitely go in with a light hand. But they blended beautifully and I was very happy with them, and I'm definitely excited to use them more. I'm definitely going to be dipping into the mattes in this palette more than the shimmers per se, because I really am a super shiny kind of metallic person and not really satin person. So if you like satins, then you will like these. But overall, these shimmers are definitely way better than some of their more recent releases of the palettes. For example, the Millennial Pinks, you know my feelings on that, just absolutely atrocious shimmers in there. These are much better, way improved, so I'm happy to see that. I hope they keep that for their other future palettes. Now, would I recommend that you pick this palette up? I would say if you're a huge Beetlejuice palette and you absolutely love this color story, you like the more satin shades, you like your mattes really nice and pigmented, then I would say go for it. But I think if you're on the fence and you're not in love with it, then I would skip on it. And I almost forgot to mention that Bio Exorcist, Lost Souls, and even just between the two shimmers, they're all pretty similar. The Little Accident is definitely more pink than Recently Deceased, as you saw on my lid, but I did use Lost Souls and Bio Exorcist together, and they're like a little different, but they're not different enough for me personally. So I could pretty much say the same thing about this palette. There's also some similar shades in here. We have Tombstone and Shrunken Head, very similar, and Obituary and No Exit, while Swatch, they have a little bit more of a difference. I feel like once they're on the lid, they're very similar. You can of course deepen out with No Exit a little bit more, but they're both pretty dark. One thing I do wish this palette had just more lighter shimmers. I don't think that all these three red metallics were really necessary, and they're also not like highly metallic. They're a little bit more satin, once again, just like the other palettes. So like Lydia and Sod Girl, I would say Dante's Inferno is just a little bit more metallic than both of those, and then Juno is like a really flaky formula, almost a little like topper like, so I definitely recommend some kind of a glitter glue to really get full color payoff with that one. And Charmin is just a really great black eyeshadow, really nice quality, love that. So you do have some options, but I really feel like this palette just could have been a little bit more different on the inside. There's a lot of similarities going on. That being said, I do really enjoy the looks I created, but I was actually really excited to use this palette in my live stream. I believe it was Shrunken Head and No Exit, and actually I love those two paired together so well. I think it just gave that like really grungy look without it being like a fall grungy look. It was like more like a deadly grungy look, and I really enjoy that. So I think this palette, if anything, got me to step out of my comfort zone a little bit, because I don't really use gray shadows in my crease, so I thought that was really fun. So I do enjoy this palette, but once again, I think there's a lot of similar shades within here, so unless you don't have any of these shades and you really love the color story, you love Beetlejuice, then this palette is for you. But But otherwise, if you're just not in love with it, then I don't think it's worth it for you. And so those are my thoughts on the palettes. I also have the brushes and the mascara, which the mascara, and I would say honestly not the greatest. It doesn't hold a curl for me, which is pretty typical for most mascaras. Since it is not waterproof, I think the wand is pretty nice, but a little bit on the larger sides, so I would probably skip on that one. However, it did nicely separate my lashes and it gave me a little bit more volume, I would say. So then the other part of the collection that I have are these brushes. There's 5 of them. We have 2 blending brushes. We have a kind of all over the lid, almost like a shader. It's pretty fluffy though. And then something to kind of cut the crease for. It's like a really nice small tapered flat brush, and then also something for the lower lash line. And I definitely much prefer these 3 brushes versus these 3. I would say this really large blending brush, it's just a little too large for my liking, for my hooded eyes. And then same with this one. I think if you want like a shimmer all over the lid and you don't mind it like literally like all over your lid, then this might be nice, but it's just really chunky and it's just really large, so I don't love it. So it's not really exactly my preferred type of brush. You could also apply mattes all over the lid with this one. But yeah, I really like this smaller kind of tapered brush. This one is great for cutting the crease, and that's what I used it for in my live stream. And then I do really enjoy this other brush for under my lower lash line. You'll see it. I also use it in the tutorials. So there you have it. Those are all my thoughts on some of the Beetlejuice collection from Melt Cosmetics from holiday 2020. I thought that once again this was a really well executed holiday collection from them. I love the theme. I think it's super fun, and of course they kill it with the packaging, as well as the product photography was absolutely stunning. I really appreciate their artistry and just their attention to detail when it comes to graphic design and packaging and printing and getting something that just feels really special. I am really glad that I picked up both the palettes. While yes, some of the shades are pretty similar within the palettes, I do like the formula. They're super pigmented, and I love Melt Cosmetics. I have all their eyeshadow palettes, which I did a ranking video kind of recently, and I will link it down below if you're interested. So I'm kind of a Melt Cosmetics collector, so I really wanted them in my collection, and I'm a sucker for brushes, so of course I had to pick up the brushes and try them out. So that's everything for this video. Let me know in the comments below if you plan on picking any of these products up during their launch. And if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing if you're new to my channel. I use a lot of indie makeup, and I sprinkle in some mainstream here and there as well. So I will leave up some of my other videos up on the screen for you in case you're interested. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you next time.